everyone. We know it's almost the end of the conference, so I really appreciate you all being here. So today we are going to do the live demo of the things that we've been talking about for the last 2 days. So we will introduce the unified experience concept, or we'll show you the unified experience concept. We want you to see and know this is actually real, so it's not the screenshot, right? Or not the mock-up. And we will do the live demo of the 2 scenarios that we talked about the most, which is the end-to-end application monitoring and business activity tracking, business process tracking. But before we opened up our development environment for you, here it is, right? So please read it, internalize it, and let me say it once again. So this is work in progress. Everything may and will change. The names, the design, the concept, and so on. So we will keep you updated on the progress after the conference. You expect to hear more from us on that front this calendar year. But as of now, again, this work in progress, so take it like this, and this is just the early demo, early preview of what we are working on. So it's not available for public. All the URLs that you will see on the demo are not available to anyone outside of Microsoft Integration Group. So since we're doing end-to-end demo, we wanted to put like a kind of real-life scenario to work through some types of application you may work on in your day-to-day works. So we will be building an application for the company called City Power and Light. And we have a customer, Lydia, who encountered the power outage in her home. And she wants to report that outage to City Light and Power. Since her internet is down, she wants to use the mobile phone and better some kind of conversational experience, so she doesn't need to fill massive forms on the mobile. Once she creates the service ticket, we want to make sure she can check on the status of the service ticket and see where what's happening, what's the status of the outage. And when the outage is fixed, we want to inform Lydia proactively so that she can get email or some kind of notification and knows that she can get back to her house safely.
And so what we see here on the screen now is the integration application behind the scenes that supports all of that, right? So you have the workflows that goes through what is the business process that that lead is going to experience, where you have a ticket created through the chatbot is going to be stored on CRM, and then from there is going to trigger a process to create a work order. Then we're going to find someone to work on that. There is the person is going to be dispatched, and then the operator is going to let us know that is dispatched, so we know who's the technician. You can come back and talk to them if we need to. After that, the technician is going to say that is on site, right? So that we can give a better prediction, or at least that if someone asking is, yes, it's actively being worked instead of someone still moving there. And finally, when the work is completed, we might need to replenish the inventory. So in this case, if it's like materials that is needed to be fixed, we needed to get that and request more either from our warehouse or from suppliers, right? And then at the end of that, you might want to send a message to Lydia to see, hey, sorry for your experience in an outage, but what is the experience on us recovering, etc. From a time point of view, we're going to be concentrating on the work order management, right? All the way orders order completed, instead of doing the marketing. Otherwise, we're going to end up doing 2 business processes, and the whole process is created behind the scenes. We're going just to inject the work order part on the application space, okay, and show like how we can create some of those. So with that. Right, and everyone pray to the demo gods, because no pressure. So what we're finding here is one of our canary environments, right? As Slava said, don't get too attached to names or colors or screens, but more to the concepts. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by creating one of those integration space so you can see how it deals with the components behind the scenes and what are the things that you would need it for that, right? So I go and create a new one on my subscription. If I type, come on, the mouse is sliding. Forget about the mouse, I'll go old school, much better. Right, and then we're going to find a resource group, and that is going to be, funnily enough, integrate 2023. The name for that is integrate 2023 live. Right, and the region is going to be UK West. So that is going to be creating the integration space, and then from there we should be able to start onboarding a new application and some of the items that we need. Did I click on? Yes, it's running. Cool. So once that happens, what we're going to have here is the ability to start creating integration applications, right? And the integration application is going to be a group of the integration resources plus a group of components for us to help to do the monitoring. So when you go through this process here, I'm going to be creating a new application that is work order management live. Then we're going to select the resources, right? And the resources that we wanted to add here, we're getting resources from a particular subscription, and right now is one subscription. Right, that's like some of the questions that we asked yesterday. What is the resource type? We can today add Logic Apps, APIs, and Service Bus. So let's start adding Logic App. And then I'm going to get a list of the Logic Apps that we have available on this environment. And I'm going to be adding the CPL work order management, right? If I was also doing the business process for CPL marketing, I could add the CPL marketing as well. So add that. Then I'm going to go and grab some APIs. And for this API management instance, which APIs is important for me on that application is the workload management mean time to restore. And finally, I can go and add some resources from Service Bus, right? So I'm going to use this namespace. And for this, I needed this topic, and I need those 4 queues. Hopefully that's going to work. I'll add this bug bash fill up queue, so we have something to like just quickly show how monitoring is going to work. Okay. So those are the items that makes my application. So I compose a virtual integration application based on those items, and that's what is going to be focusing. So the next part is like how I'm going to set up my business process tracking, where I'm going to be storing that. And for that, you're going to need to add a subscription, select a specific cluster, right? That is the Integrate 2023 ADX. So you see from here that you actually bring in your own ADX, right? So you have full control on that. And the reason why we're using ADX for that is because then it's going to give you the durable message and the lossless pipeline to keep all that information, especially for business tracking. Okay. Then finally, you select a database to associate with that, right? Then no need any tags, and just create. So at the end of the step, now you created, you compose an application from things that you already had, right? On the roadmap, we're thinking about if you needed to create from scratch, you're doing that step way ahead, and then you deploy this package as one thing. But we didn't want to start with this process because then we lose the opportunity for people that already have things deployed to use it. So
Also, you've seen some of the steps are required. Like, for example, when you create an application right now, you need immediately create the business tracking profile and connect it to ADX and so on. Again, this is work in progress, so we'll separate these steps based on the feedback and the actual UX research.
Yeah, you needed monitoring. You don't need the business tracking. You don't need you to provision that. Or it's more like a just-in-time. So when you're coming down to this application, so you're going to find like all the items, and from here you should be able now to set up your monitoring, right? And the monitoring of each one of those components is going to make the health of your overall application. So what I'm going to do on this one, I'm going to start with the CPL work order management, and I'll take a look at the bug bash fill up queue, right? And what you see here is pretty much all the metrics that Service Bus provide to you on application sites on Azure monitoring. And we're taking advantage of that. We're not trying to create yet another thing on top of monitoring. We're just providing a better way to surface all of that and combine all the things in one single place, right? So in my case, for example, I'm not too worried about count of active messages, right? But I would be worried about if the count of the letter, that letter queue is big. So I say I wanted to give information now if I have more than 4 messages in the queue. I want to get an error if I have more than 6 messages on the queue, right, on that letter. And then I'm going to be removing those other items because I'm not interested. So what you see here is we provide you everything that is give you. You can have like the initial thresholds. Well, I think we have on our roadmap to pre-populate that maybe with some best practices. But you opt in, and only once you have that ready and you enable, that is going to be starting to run and provide information on dashboard, which is a really good point. I needed to remember to enable, because my previous time it was not working, and guess what? Everything was there, but was not enabled. Go.
What kind of latency are you looking at for these kind of dashboards, Wagner? So like with App Insights, where it can be 5 minutes till I see the telemetry, are you managing to get that quicker by using ADX? Does that help?
There is two different things here. From the monitoring point of view, it's still bound to what Azure Monitors is going to give us to you, right? But you see that is when you go down to the dashboard, we're going to have the ability to set up your refresh rate. But I think the refresh rate, the alerts and triggers are still bound to what Azure Monitoring gives to you. And so those ones, for example, is a test every minute over a period of 5 minutes before it generates the error. Otherwise, it would give you like a lot of false positives. So we're still going to be talking for 5 minutes to try to get something to happen anyway, right? That's why I have some other where we already did just to show. So the other thing just to show quickly here is if I go and show some of the other items, like I also have a bug bash fill up queue from, bug bash create error from the other one. What you're seeing is, although I created that brand new from an integration space point of view, that one is already pre-configured. So our reasoning for that right now is, if you already started to work with the application and you already put some alerting in place, it's because you needed that, right? So you bring it together with the resource. We don't force you to recreate, but we're taking feedback from you if it's like it's going to be useful or it's actually a hassle.
Yeah, part of this scenario is, well, there's two reasons for that. One, we understand that a lot of integration projects are already underway. So you have a lot of resources, there's a lot of alerts configured, a lot of dashboards configured, etc. So we want to provide an easy onboarding experience to the new unified experience, right? So if you have alerts already for your logic apps or for service bus topic or etc., so you can kind of bring it in and then you can turn it on or turn it off, depending on if you want to see it as the part of the cohesive application monitoring. The other thing is you can share some resources across applications, so it's not one-to-one mapping. Like for example, if you use your API endpoint that access your legacy data or something like that across multiple applications, you can include this API endpoint into multiple apps, but you don't need to redefine alerts and all the stuff that attach to this API endpoint in each and every app. You can define it once, and then it will be used across all the applications that this API endpoint belongs to or included in.
So what I'm going to do here is force a queue to fill up, right? And then in 5 minutes time, those alerts should be showing. And in the meantime, after we run that, I'll show you the dashboard and where you can find the alerts inside that application, and also a little bit more of how you can see all those resources being presented together, okay? So I think each one of those do 5. I'll go to town and do that 4 times. Why not? Going to have a lot of things on my that letter queue. There you go. So back to the order management here, what we're going to find is that you have alerts, and here is where it's going to be showing the alerts, right? So we already have an information out here. Probably got between us talking and me sending stuff. We got already something that was like something on the queue, right? And this is pretty much ADX, right? It's showing you what is happening for how long. Oh, sorry, pretty much at Azure Monitor. Everything that is happening, and from here we can go down to the resource and deal with that. The alert is going to be working just like any other one. On a notification group, right, an action group. That means that I receive an email or receive an SMS depending on how I set up everything, okay? But I think it's, so one of the things that is advantage here is exactly that, is you seeing the information in one go. The alerts from other things would also show here, right? So all of the alerts from all those components, instead of you having to go to Logic Apps to see those alerts, then to Service Bus to see those alerts. So it's a central location for everything. And most important, when you go to Insights, you would be able to see the information, right? Since this application is brand new, you're not going to have much information. I'd actually get in from 28 days. So it gets some of the trends that we had before. So it's showing like the Logic Apps, all the runs, how it's running over time. Like you can see that Kent was quite busy on that, was sending 7.9 million actions throughout this process. And then like which work orders fail more, which was the top action failure. So all of this is initial dashboard, but is a workbook that you can expand, right? What is the Logic App, so how it's working. But the same thing you're going to have for Service Bus, right? And then it's just like a tab away instead of like going to another resource and everything. And today that is showing like how is the Service Bus connections are going, right? And that is quite generic to the namespace, but you can go one level down to request and starting to drill down to individual messages and to, individual queues and topics. Right, and the incoming request and the rates plus go down specifically to the messages. So you have a lot more of the information there about the resource. Same thing from APIM, right? So it's showing all the information, a lot of those. What is the operations, how many was successful, how many was unauthorized, etc. Right? So this is, in a nutshell, the end-to-end monitoring of that. If you're thinking about, like we don't have time to do all of those, but you think that now we can set alerts for each one of the operations that you have there, you create work order, you things, and you can see all of those happening in a single place. Cool. So I think demo 1 is out of the way. The only thing that I still wanted to see if it's shows the error. Okay. Now I can prove that it's working because the error came after we came back to that. Again, on the same things, I could go to this one and say the alert now is acknowledged, right? I did the demo. Why not? And then it applies the state. After some time, this is going to be clear from here as well, right? Takes a little bit of time for cache to clear.
Blame internet connection for
Yeah.
this.
But we come back to that one. You're going to see there is acknowledged. Cool. So that was the first part, the application monitoring. Back to the thing, I forgot to ask you to take off your phones, right? Same deal as yesterday, aka.ms/integrate 2023. Or polyv/powerchamp, both works. See who's going to log in first and do the first thing. If you the first one was neutral. I was going to give you a sticker, Rick. I'm not going to give you one anymore.
We'll have some conversations later.
Cool. So just give a minute or so to get the overall impression on that one. Cool. We have a couple of more questions on that one for you. I'll see if we can hit 100, and then I'll go to the next one. Okay. So next question for you. It's like right now we're focusing on the triad, Logic Apps, Service Bus, and APIM. Like what other steps is wanted to see there? Not surprised.
Redis is a left fielder. Put stuff in cache sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And I think on that one is our initial thinking of that. Are we still thinking about integration application? No? Yep.
Sir?
You put other, all.
It means it's all 250 services.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So does that hit the mark in terms of like usability from at least from a concept point of view? Don't think about using as is right now, but from a concept as something that would help you, like having all of those things together in a place, and the way that is initially thought hits the mark in terms of the usability, right? We know there is taking into consideration that is not even code complete, is a really nice prototype right now, and but there is a lot of things that we needed to improve to get it to the hardening that needs. But what we needed to think about is the concept.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, that's something that is not even close to discussion yet, I think. But we have Slava here.
Sorry,
It's
what
above
was
my
it?
pay grade.
Free is the right answer.
You only pay for the resources that you're using, and that one is going to be one of them. Not for that, right, at this stage. At least we don't have anything related to integration, VNet integration on this one.
Yeah.
And I'll leave that one open, and you guys can add more things, like
Good.
and in the meantime, let's go to the next demo. That page is going to be open. Cool. So what we're going to see here now is thinking a little bit more about how we can do business process tracking on that. And the business process that you saw on that picture from the work order management, or exactly that is, I have someone that is needed to create a ticket. and then after that ticket is created, I needed to make sure that a work order for a provider go out in the field. The provider is going to the field, is there fixing the problem, is completed the outage, and then bring back a bill of materials for me to charge back.
And
Right.
we're kind of switching roles here from the IT support, so to say, who are monitoring if the application is working, to customer support or business support who need a way to answer the angry calls asking what's happening with my tickets, or why I haven't received an update in the last 2 hours, right? Did you get it or not? So we're kind of defining the business process here, and we'll define the steps of this business process and provide the interface to see where each and every transaction or each and every instance of this process is.
Yeah, really good point. Like on the previous one, we were IT, right? Now we are operations doing that. And talking about the roles, actually on the next process, we're going to be working with 2 hats, right? So it was acknowledged. So what we're doing here is going to define a business process, right? And then the first part of the process is defining what are the steps, what is the information that I need to capture to bring to the other people. So think about Wagner, the business process manager, or the CRM service operator there. So when you're creating a new project, a new process, what you're doing is defining that business process in terms of what are the steps that you're going to need it for this. So this would be work order, business process, right? And the first thing that we needed to do is define a business identifier. So this the business identifier is exactly what is going to be tying up all thinking about the correlation ID, but a correlation ID from the business point of view that is going to tie up all those different processes together, right? Like for our case, there is the first thing that we present to the user, that is the ticket number. Yep. All right, so we're calling that a ticket number. And the type is string, but you would have like different other options depending on the case. So I create this business process, and then I have to go and define this business process, right? And that definition is actually creating a set of stages where I wanted to capture information from my system to present to the users where we are on that stage, right? So I have, based on that, we had 5 stages, right? We have the ticket created, and then what is the properties that I need for that ticket creation on top of my business identifier, right? I wanted to make sure that I get the customer name. So if we needed to go back to the person, we know who we're talking to, and we might need to get like a customer phone. And our site ID, because then we can identify address and all the other things inside of the system with that site ID, right? So I add in this step, then going to add the next step on the process, that is the work order was created. So we created that for the third-party provider. Like usually is the case. It's like we have a fleet of providers that actually go on site on our behalf.
And as you can see, when the business me define the process, they don't even see what kind of logic apps or service bus topics or APIs are part of this process, right? So that's a pure business process definition, something that they could do in Visio, for example, or tools like that.
And then in this case, the things that might be important is still the site ID, but also the address. I hope that I wrote that correctly. I don't think I did. Right, Brazilians, man.
You just type in text into the field there, right? What populates them? Do I need to?
No. We go into that in a minute, right? So I'm the business process owner. I don't have any idea of what is logic apps.
what implementation is.
Or
basically,
implementation of the thing is. But
You want to know the name of the pub, but you don't care whether we capture it or not. You just want to know it.
I wanted to know that information at that stage, right? And that's it, from my point of view.
So we care that we capture it, but we don't care how we capture it at this point, right?
The business person doesn't, it's the IT person's problem to map it up.
Developer.
Exactly. And the next one is the work order dispatched. Right, and now the only thing that I needed is the technician name, because then I can find all the information and talk to him if I need to. Second to last is the technician on site. And to be honest, I wanted, the only thing I needed to know in here is that technician is on site. I don't need to know anything else, right? I know that is there or not, but there is nothing else that I need. So just to show that you don't need to have all the properties, you only needed to tie up those events with the business identifier. And finally, is the work order complete? If I have that right, yes. And in this case, the things that I needed to add is a bit about materials, because then I wanted to know relatively how bad was the case. So I'm going to get materials and the description. Cool. So I define my business process. I'll save that because, right?
Not a bad idea.
Exactly. So, and from here, my work as Wagner business process owner is done. There's nothing else that I needed to do. Then Wagner for an IT, there is another guy, comes in and opens that.
Most likely, IT meaning integration developer, right? So those
Exactly.
who build a set of logic apps and API endpoints, etc., to implement the actual processes.
So I see that I needed to capture that information, right? And what I needed to find is like, what is the data sources that I have for this? So one thing that is important here, right now we're only getting logic apps for this. We're going to have a question for you on that. And in one step, it can only be associated to one data source. Sorry, yes, each one of the steps with one data source. But that doesn't mean that your business process cannot come from two logic apps applications, right? That step is one data source. It could be that I have a Microsoft thing where work order is on one, the dispatch is on other logic app. If I have those two inside my application, I can have those two sharing data, because I only capturing the things at the end of the process, and they all write to the same place, right? But in our case, we have one logic app application, and the first one that I have is like the custom service ticket created, right? And then once I do that, I go and select the actions. So what we needed to think about here is, this is a representation of the logic app, but not necessarily the logic apps. You're not making any changes on that, but you're taking all the advantage of the logic apps and the components that you have there to do this, right? And what I wanted to do is, when is safe to say that that event happened on my logic app? In my case, I want to say that it's safe after I complete the send message, right? So you can choose inside your logic app what is the place, and to be honest, you could have two steps, that the first one happens on one part of the logic app, the other one happens on the other one, on the same workflow. Right, so now I have like all those three properties that we thought about, right, and I can get those ones from my application. So from here, I'm going to get from this canonical message, and the first one that I need is the full name, right? Then I need their phone number, and I need their site ID. There we go. the most important part is I needed to give a business ID, and this business ID today has to come from the trigger, right? Because then it's like we know there is initiated from there. Otherwise, it might be that workflow end up enriching data from some other place, and then we're not actually executing that process. So it's the only thing that we are doing today. We're probably going to request feedback on that later as well. So that means that if I go and if I look at for ticket number, I wanted to get ticket number from when a row is created, right? And because we have 5 of those to do, your mission, if you choose to accept this, remind me to have to put ticket numbers on all of them, because that also failed.
That's why I'm here.
Cool. So we have that first one. We go and update the business process, right? And then you can go and create the next ones.
The one, while Wagner is working on it, the one thing to mention is that, yes, there is a visual mapping experience, visual design experience for all of this, right? But at the end, it's just one of the artifacts, basically, that you can, create or generate automatically, or, populate manually and then deploy it into the space as the file, pretty much, or, the resource, pretty much. So you don't necessarily need to use the UI all the time. I mean, if you have a better way to do it.
Will it be possible to add human interaction? Since in a business process, you typically have approval workflow or something like that. That's question 1.
Yeah, would it be possible to add a human interaction into the business process? So you add the human interaction in the logic apps, right? And do the kind of the stages there, but in terms of the business process, again, logic apps can map in the business tracking profile can map to any logic apps action, be it the human approval or or send message or anything like that, right? As long as that action has all the necessary attributes for us to populate the business tracking properties back.
Mm-hmm. The action itself is in the logic app, but the time the user needs, for instance, to do this stuff, can that be put in there?
I think, sorry, just on that one, I think that's exactly the case that I was talking before, where you started the first step, it finishes before you send the approval, and then you finish the next one after you receive the approval, right? And then because of that, you're going to have a lapse time between when you send and when not, and in theory, you can see if that SLA is about to breach.
Another question, what about gateways in business processes? Typically, it's not impacting. We have multiple gateways.
It is on the roadmap. Right now it's sequential, but it's on the roadmap.
The question was, what about gateways? So the business process is not usually sequential, so yeah, it is on the roadmap.
I'll concentrate on that one, otherwise we don't finish this.
Yep.
And another one, I think, I might not have been understanding it correctly. Did you say that there will be support to import business processes from other tools?
That's a good question. I can't promise anything, but we certainly, when it comes to the question was, will there be support for importing the business process from the other tools like Visio, right, that I mentioned? So it is kind of on our radar. Not prioritized for like the first iteration, but obviously because majority or a lot of business process owners work on those tools, so we think that if we get enough signal on that front, we will work on the or may work on the import as well.
Technician on
Yes.
site.
Does your workflow support conditional branching?
Does our workflow support conditional branching? So the business process itself, right? So like the workflow does, right? The workflow is the logic apps. Workflow can do anything at once. The business process for now is sequential, but making the branches and conditions, etc. in it is on the roadmap.
Want to go?
Don't forget to put the ticket number.
No, well, we're going to know because I'm going to try to save, but I'll go to all of them before we finish, just in case. Okay. And the last one is work order completed. Work order completed. There we go.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on making this scriptable so we can deploy this into like different environments?
Yeah, the question is the sorts of for making this scriptable. That's what I mentioned, right? You don't have to use the UI and do it for every business process or every environment. So it's actually what we will end up with, what we call the business tracking profile, which is exactly the business process definition and mapping to the specific resources, which you can create as a resource. I mean, technically a JSON, for example. I mean, I'm not sure what exact format we use underneath. I assume it's JSON. So you can create the JSON and just deploy it using, ARM or Biceps or something like that.
I kind of see a scenario where you do this once and then someone updates the logic app and kind of rename something there in the data map exercise.
Yeah.
That redeploy everything as one thing.
Yeah, dealing with the updates, like what if logic apps updates, etc. So dealing with updates is one scenario, right? So the business tracking profile can be part of the development, repository, right? You update the logic app, you update the tracking profile, you deploy it all together. The other scenario is the moving from environment to environment, right? So you deploy in QA, do the test, then you deploy to prod or multiple prods, and then you parameterize it based on what runs in those environments as well.
Given that this is sort of looking from the business process owner, who's probably not going to be working from source control, is there a plan to sort of go, once they've designed their initial bit, kick it back to somewhere that can be stored for later use, rather than just having it in the ether a bit, that if we update, it just disappears?
So the question is if we can store it somewhere else and give it I think that's something that we're still doing research on and what's the right thing for us to do, right? So part of it is also the question that I'm not sure if we're asking or not, but is how important to have this business SME experience outside of Azure portal. The import question is part of it too, right? So like where they can work on those things, where they can see all transactions. But so this is definitely a scenario that we are looking at to make sure that that works smoothly.
Cool. So we finished the thing doing that, and the last step that we did was deploy. So when you're deploying this, exactly what the talking Mike, this thing becomes a JSON file and is distributed across the logic apps applications that you have, right? So later on, we can actually use that to do the CI/CD, and you can get this, change it between environments if you needed to. But the output of all of that is a JSON file that says this step means get data from this workflow, this action, which is what we were mapping there. Okay. So finally, I'm going to become Lydia. Right, and no, good, because it got down. I thought that I actually had a power outage. So we have a power outage in our region. We come to chatbot and asking the chatbot or talking to chatbot to say, hey, I needed someone to come and fix that, right? So exactly, and hopefully the keyboard you can still see. So I had a power outage. Okay, so City Life comes and said, are you experiencing a power outage? Yes. Okay, so this bot is intelligent enough that means there's Lydia because I'm the only one using it, right? So it's just make sure that you don't misspell that.
To make it absolutely real, we should have asked if she tried to turn it on and off before submitting a ticket, right?
So it finds that we are Lydia lives on this address, and does it looks correct? Yep. So please describe the power outage. I was doing a demo, and a tree fell on a pole. Because why not? Okay. So now it's going and creating the ticket, right? That usually takes a couple seconds to go there. And then once you have this, now I have this case 1079, that is going to be my business process, my business identifier for everything. So let's see if it's a ticket was created. case 1079. Yes. Yeah, so it's created, right? So it started to go through the process and it's starting to capture that information. So technician receives that, log in on the system. Now we have the case set of 79 and we needed to dispatch that, right? So dispatching. And the technician name is, man, this guy does everything. I don't know why. Should be put in Slava here, but that's fine. Cool. So we have the work order created, right, and dispatched. So now it gets on site. And then after they find out that it's like the thing was just like reattaching the cable, it goes and completes the process. While it's completing the process, there is a new electrical pole that was required, and the material that is for that is 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this order is now completed. From here would be starting the next step. There is the marketing, find out if Lydia was happy with that. She is, right? Since it's me, she is. But this is exactly where this whole process, as we capture that information behind the scenes on the logic apps, this is going to be pushing data into ADX, right? And then with ADX, we still have this 5 minutes delay for that. What I'm going to do now, while we're waiting for that to run, is I'm going to show you the same one on my dry run this morning, so you can see how that's represented for a transaction point of view. We ask some questions, then come here just to prove that it worked. Fingers crossed. So,
and one thing to kind of notice is that when we created this tracking profile and we deployed it, right, so and the data starts collecting, so we did not have to adjust or modify explicitly or implicitly logic apps that contribute the data, right? So it's actually all done by engine itself. So when we deploy the profile, engine becomes aware of which workflows and which action needs to be tracked and where to send the information, right? So when the workflow engine, when the engine executes the workflow, it's actually automatically submit this data into the ADX storage. So you don't need to modify applications. So developers will not see inserted actions. Developers don't have to insert actions and things like that. So it's kind of all run in the background, and that's also the reason why, at least for now, we are only looking to support logic app standard for this, right? So consumption will not emit this data, at least this way, unobtrusive way.
Mm-hmm. Are you planning to give us some kind of visualization on that kind of page? Because I can see this being a long list, right, of running business processes, whereas what I probably want to see is, if I've got 4 stages, how many processes are at each stage as some kind of summary?
So
good feedback, and we will. I mean,
yeah, on that one, right now you're able to you'll be able to filter by business process, by business identifier, for time span. But yes, like having like how many is failing or have heat maps and things, it would be also next step.
Yeah, and here's another thing to mention is that we are kind of still gathering the feedback what the ultimate experience you and your business users wants to see here, right? Besides just the plain list of the transactions. But also, again, this is your ADX, so you can, and you have workbooks and stuff like that. You can build whatever you want on top of it using the data that is collected by engine.
Yeah, so all the information that is here goes behind the scenes on your ADX database. So you can slice and dice and enrich with other systems as well, which is quite important. Yep. But in the end, this is the process, because we run it end to end and everything worked, right? You see the process and on each one of the items.
There's a question.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you already answered part of the question that I was going to, but other than create integrations on this to provide that information into other systems, because I don't think I will allow my business users to go into Azure.
Yeah, that's so the question is, are we thinking about creating integrations to the other systems, because the business users may not necessarily be well positioned to use Azure Portal? Yes and No, so we are looking into what would be the best and the easiest way for us to do it. So one of the things that we have on the roadmap, but it's not for the near future, is to potentially create the business profile or the business UX, the business UI for the business users outside of the portal. The other solution that we're exploring is to actually make all these components that you can see on the portal somewhat embeddable so that you can use them in your, let's say, SharePoint or whatever portal you use internally for your organization.
And just on that point, even the items that we're using here are based on the new designer that is open source. So we're not using the Logic Apps designer that you have on the designer page. We're using the same scheme for that, rewritten to create all of that.
Wow.
So just very quickly on that one, so I'll show that one.
I'm just going to follow up on that question. But an obvious scenario there is that they get dispatched or something, and then 5 hours later nothing's happened. So you want to raise a ticket in some other service management system.
That's the
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the question is, I think if I summarize it, right, it's like how can we track the failure in these processes? So if the ticket was created, but there is no update or no one is dispatched in the next 5 hours and so on. So similarly to what you've seen on the monitoring experience, one of the next steps that we want to bring to the business profile is to create alerts on the business process, right? So like, alerts and SLA, so to say, so that, the time between step 1 and step 2 or step 5 should not be more than 30 minutes. And, if it takes longer, so then you get the alert and so on. So that's on the roadmap, the kind of UI, UX for this, as well as the capabilities. Again, with everything being in ADX, you can kind of work around it on the first stage and do it yourself, but we are looking to bring this as a part of experience to the integration space as well.
Cool.
Right.
So
I think we're running a bit out of time, so I would ask to maybe hold the questions until the end of the session, and we'll let Wagner finish, and then we'll answer.
So the only thing I'm going to show here is just double check that we got that one working, right? If I can remember where I put that. I can't remember which one I created. No, yeah, and I know there is we have currently internally an issue here that this integration space thing is only going to be refreshing like after a couple of hours because it's still a work in progress. So you have to trust me that the other one worked, but what I can show you, like on the dry run that we created before, is how this should be looking for from a transaction point of view. What you're going to see is a list of items. Come on. Ah, perfect. You're going to show that one as well, because those two are. I created a copy of that on this dry run. So case 1079 is exactly the same one as the one that you created on the other business process, but because I created for both of them, it shows here as well, right? And what you see on each one of those is like each one of the steps and what you capture. And if any of those steps would be failed or not happen yet, it's just going to be showing as gray. So you know, and that's what, as Slava was saying, later on you can try to attach alerts or define SLAs for that, right? So that, again, each one of them with the information, including the ones that we didn't try to capture anything. So it works. Let's go and ask the last questions that we have on our presentation, right? So back to the things that are similar to the ones that we asked before, right? So after seeing the business process tracking demo, what is the overall impression? You can say neutral. Cool. On just for expediency, you're going to move next one. All the services that we needed to get business process. I think it's going to be a similar to what we saw there before. And Martin, I can interpret other as all. Cool. Okay.
Yeah, so no surprise. Functions and API management.
Functions and
then
API management.
everything else.
And would that help? Right, so would be likely to use, again, think about the concept. Would that help you to tie up the whole story together? Okay. And I'll leave that last question open, right? It's like any additional feedback or anything. That one is going to be open on the activity for a little while. So please.
So all questions are allowed except for when.
Good point.
And how much? Yes, that's right.
Exactly the two questions that we're not allowed. Cool. So,
While we have this open, any other questions in the room? I think we, need to wrap up here. But
Yeah.
the
Just one
last
thing.
question.
yeah, while you're thinking about questions, one last thing, right? We're not signing up for private preview right now because there's still some time for us to get to the private preview. But we wanted to get the registers of interest of who would be interested on participating in private preview. The only thing that you ask on that one is if you're using that, try to put your company email on that, because we're really trying to reach out to you and get feedback from your user cases and things like that, right? Because we'll try to prioritize people that has the use cases and are working with a company either in-house or consulting to work on that one. And if you didn't have chance to copy that but needed, just ping me offline. I can get that, so I can give space for Matthias that is patiently waiting for that. Thanks, man. And that's us.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.